Couple of stupid things to do with the extremists who don't want to say anything about China but want to use slave labour in China to try to fix the climate problems of 1% of the world being UK or 1% of the world being Australia. Is this true that some property owners could end up facing jail time if they don't do the right things when it comes to eco-policy in the UK?
In that building you can see behind me, this afternoon and this evening we'll be debating a new energy bill. And some of the proposals that are put down would give the government the powers to criminalise people who did not upgrade their properties to be energy efficient.
Wow.
So it's a proposal, it's on the table. I very much hope members of Parliament vote it down. But the fact that it's even being proposed by legislators shows you, well, two things really. Shows you firstly that this net zero madness knows no end, and secondly, and it's a trend that we've seen all over, and goodness me, Melbourne showed us this during lockdown, that governments are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more intrusive on our lives, and we have fewer and fewer freedoms.
Well, and who's Chris Packham? Because I want to show everyone his idea for that building behind you that stood there for hundreds of years looking exactly the way that it is as the symbol of democracy for the Western world, but he suggests it should look slightly different. Roll this tape.
When it comes to solar, what about the roof of that building? What about the roof of that building? What about the roof of the House of Commons? We could cover that with solar panels. And
you want to cover the House of Commons, Houses of Parliament,
well,
with solar
panels? That'd be a lovely stunt, wouldn't it, really?
Oh, it'd be a lovely stunt, wouldn't it?
He is, so Chris Packham is one of the BBC's absolute favourites. You know, he speaks out on nature, the environment, and all of these things, but he's really quite a hardline political activist. He wants us to stop using all gas and all oil. I mean, effectively, we'd be living in caves. And, you know, if you want to deface one of the finest buildings in the world with solar panels, well, that's all well and good, Mr. Packham. But the truth is, you should not be standing in Parliament Square and protesting about carbon dioxide emissions. You should go to Beijing and do it there, where they're building 80 new coal-fired power stations every single year. Difference is, he'd probably get locked up there, wouldn't he?
Yeah, well, literally, we had the same idiots that they stole the idea from the UK about going around and letting people's tyres down. They did so in Melbourne, the suburb of Toorak. It's one of the fancy ones. It is literally where they were letting down the tyres here to send a message about saving the environment. It is a 13-minute walk or 1.1 kilometres from the Chinese consulate in Melbourne. You reckon if you've really got balls and you want to make a point about climate change, you'd go a kilometre down the road.
Well, absolutely. But remember that as we've stopped believing in God, people need something to believe in. And climate change hysteria has effectively become the new replacement religion for a very large number of people.
Well, and in the same way that people who become irrational about that start to judge others, well, the doomsday cult of those that are involved in this stuff, well, they know no bounds. Finally, you must be excited. You must be setting your clock. You must be getting ready to go out there, set up the bunting, because Prince Harry's coming back to the UK.
Yes, it's a big day this Friday. He'll be here on Thursday at a charity event just to show the world how virtuous he is. And, of course, this Friday is the first anniversary of the death of our late beloved Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. It's rumoured that on this trip he won't be meeting up with the King and his brother and the rest of the family. We'll have to see. But something very interesting is going on with Harry and with Meghan, and that is that on both sides of the pond, they're getting far fewer column inches in the newspapers. I think the truth of it is we're beginning to get rather bored with them, which is good.
Fine by me. A global yawn whenever they appear. Not the case with your good self, Nigel Farage, who we can see on GB News. It's on the Flash app here in Australia, of course, YouTube. And lovely to see you, mate. We'll see you again next Tuesday night.